Hi, welcome to another episode of South Asian Outlook on Web TV. Today we're at location at the TSX Group Centre in downtown Toronto. We have been invited to partake in a media campaign for the Port of Halifax. This has been organized by the Canada-India Business Council in partnership with the Indo-Canadian Commerce.
Look at India as being a major growth opportunity for you. I mean, this is a country that is now front page in every newspaper and every magazine. People are starting to wake up to the fact that there's a country with over 1 billion people that has a strong basis in the English language, which makes commerce easier, which has well-developed traditions from the British involving the law, and a country that we have a huge amount of empathy and sympathy with as a result of exchanges of people over a long period of time. So we've got this country with this magnificent potential that is growing at such a huge rate, a double-digit rate, and offers a huge amount of opportunity for us. And the Port of Halifax has correctly identified this as being a big growth opportunity, one that others aren't capitalizing on, and a chance to do really, really good business. So I just want to wrap up on that note by saying we've got a spectacular port with great leadership in a very, very good part of Canada, a wonderful part of Canada for doing business, a strategically, geographically advantaged location, and one that I think is going to be a terrific competitor and offer really good service for a long time to come. So on that note, thank you for having me here, and good luck with the rest of your show.
We had a real treat in Halifax. The former President Bill Clinton came and spoke, and he was speaking in the Metro Centre. There were over 5,000 people there, and there were two people on the stage. Frank McKenna introduced President Clinton, and then President Clinton spoke. And I think I wrote a note, and if I didn't, Frank, I would say this in person. It would be hard to say who was the better speaker that night, because President Clinton is a fantastic speaker, and you that day were on the top of your game, and we really appreciate an endorsement from Frank McKenna, because that's very important to us and says a lot about Halifax and a lot about Atlantic Canada. So thank you, Frank. And with respect to my chairman, I have to also say that one of Frank's greatest accomplishments, of course, is that he was Canada's ambassador to the United States. So he was telling the Canadian story all over the place. So he knows a lot about our country, he knows a lot about Atlantic Canada, and we're really pleased that you could be here. So as a token, Frank, I would like to give this to you. You don't have to open it, but I'm going to tell you what it is. It's a clock and a barometer that shows the longitude and latitude of the Port of Halifax, just to make sure you never, ever forget it. One is Cam Raffi, and Cam is with the Canada-India Business Council. He's very helpful in putting this reception together tonight, and also events earlier today. So Cam, wherever you are, where are you, Cam?
Right.
Oh, here he is. I'd like to thank you. I'd like to recognize your efforts, and I would like the crowd to join with me and give you a round of applause. Thank you. And one final recognition and thank you, Ajit Khanna, and he represents the Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce. And I would like to, where's Ajit? There he is. Ajit, again, thank you for your efforts on our behalf. We're very pleased to have you here this evening. Thank you for co-sponsoring, and a round of applause is well in order for us. That's all for the formal part. folks, I would like you to mix and mingle and enjoy the reception. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks very much for appearing on South Asian Outlook on Web TV.
Oh, my pleasure, Lena.
I had caught a little bit of your speech inside.
Yes.
First of all, I think it's a great opportunity for Halifax to develop in this port thing, especially with India becoming a growing nation, a growing market. Just a couple of questions now is how long has this been in planning?
Our Indian initiative altogether?
That's correct.
Yes, okay. It's an interesting story because probably 18, 20 months in the planning. And my own personal first trip to India was last March, so just about a year ago.
Okay.
And we went there at the urging and encouragement of one of our customers, Canadian Retail Shipping Association. The CRSA had been doing business in India for many years, and really was very happy and comfortable with the relationship that they had built up and saw a major opportunity for the port. So CRSA already ships goods from India through the Port of Halifax and really encouraged us to go and see for ourselves. We did that. And we found a partner, a company called Gina and Company, Global Logistics. We ended up entering into a 3-year memorandum of understanding with Gina. So we've opened offices in India, in New Delhi and in Mumbai. Gina is our partner. Gina has hired people on our behalf, so people who are promoting and marketing and selling the Port of Halifax all across India. And this year, one of our goals is to actually sponsor what I would call a reverse trade mission, bringing Indian businesses first to Halifax and then on to Toronto, to really expose our potential market in India to the Canadian market. So I'm looking forward to that. We've done a number of other things, trade shows, exhibits, just one-on-one B2B meetings and so forth. I have personally committed to being in India twice a year. So I did go twice in 2006, and I'm due another visit within the next month or two. You can never replace personal contact or personal meeting, personal touch. So I think that's very important, and I really want to support our office in India because it is a 13-hour flight,
Definitely.
and when you're on the 13 hours away by air, you're feeling a little out there. So I want to make sure that our staff feel supported and encouraged and motivated and very connected to the port.
Perfect. Now, why was Halifax chosen?
As the start of the initiative? So I represent Halifax Port Authority, and so one of my jobs is to grow the volume of traffic coming through the port. So exports, Canadian exports, and imports from Europe, India, Indian subcontinent, and so forth. So we really saw a huge opportunity, and the reason why, the simple fact is that Halifax is 1,840 nautical miles closer to India than West Coast ports, and that's the key. That's the key.
So it's the shortest time.
Shorter distance. So you can actually reduce your transit time in half, from 46 days to 23 days. So that's a significant reduction in transit time. Significant, and that's from factory to store shelf. 23 days. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's quite amazing. So, and the other great thing about Canada is that we understand the American market as well or better than Americans understand it themselves. So we can leverage that, and we need to do more of it. So we can sell our expertise and our knowledge of the American market overseas. So, for example, to an Indian company who may be thinking about doing business in the United States but doesn't know quite the way to do it, we can help there. And so one of the things that we're selling is not just access to central Canadian markets, but also access to the U.S. Midwest, right into Chicago.
Wow, okay. Now, in terms of how would you get your name out there? One, for India, the Indian markets to know that about the Port of Halifax, and how would you get Canada to know that there's a leeway that they can actually ship?
And you know, that above all is one of the big challenges, because you think about it, there are 1.1 billion people in India, and I can assure you there's not too many of them who know very much about Halifax. And frankly, there's not too many Haligonians who know a lot about India. And you know what? You can say the same thing about Canada and India, India and Canada. It's the same thing, where we are simply a microcosm of the larger. So what do we do? Well, we have an aggressive strategy in India, starting with our people on the ground to market. So we would go to key trade shows where our market audience would be. So exporters, and they could be simply business people, or they could be buyers, or they could be manufacturers, or they could be freight forwarders. Anybody who touches global logistics, a global supply chain. So we would market to them, to shipping lines, and so forth. And frankly, we do the same thing in Canada. In addition to that, I was here earlier today addressing the Empire Club, so basically a Toronto business audience. That's very key, because even in our own country, people are not familiar with what can happen and what can be done in terms of a solution for the supply chain through the Port of Halifax. So, people say, what do you do every day? And what I do every day is talk about Halifax and talk about Halifax, and really I talk about Halifax pretty much.
Totally.
That's what I do.
So even when you went to India, you basically promoted them Halifax, you gave them the demographic information.
Yes, what we export. And this is what's another interesting thing. So, we do have a distance advantage. But we also have a really nice match. What our market exports matches very nicely what India imports. And what India is exporting matches very nicely what we are importing. So, that is not something to take lightly. That's kind of a match made in heaven, really. And so we have to exploit that and match partners so that companies can be doing business with their counterpart either in North America or in India. Yeah.
Now, is there any specific industry that is being targeted for export, or is it just what's the criteria?
Yes. So some of our key exports that are already doing business in India, we would have newsprint and pulp and paper and other commodities, iron ore, wheat, things like that. On the import side, there's a lot of textiles, garments, coffee, sugar, tea, all of the things that you would think about when you think of India. So on the export side, we really focus on the commodities, and on the import side, commodities but of a different nature.
Just another final question now is, since the Port of Halifax is promoting the trade between India and Canada and is expanding with India being a developing market, now with Air Canada shutting down the flights to India, the direct flight, how would that have any impact at all in the fact?
Hard to say, not something I've looked at. I know that when we travel to India, generally how we have traveled is Toronto, Geneva into Delhi. But there's also a great flight, Delta, out of JFK. So it's a quick hop to go to New York for us. And then it's a non-stop flight into Mumbai. So I haven't done that one yet. They just put that on within the next little while. But if you think about it, you can't get a hotel room in India. You can't get a hotel room in Delhi. You can't get a hotel room in Mumbai. You can't get a hotel room in Bangalore. So that tells me that airlines are not going to be taking flights away. They are going to be adding flights because there's customer demand.
True. Okay, well, thank you very much for being a guest on
No problem. It's a pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Khanna, thank you very much for coming on to Media and South Asian Outlook on TV. Just want to know, since you're the president of the Indo-Canadian Chamber of Commerce, would you like to give us a little brief detail of what it's about?
Yeah, I'd love to. Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce has been in business, if you want to call it that, for 30 years, from 1977 to 2007. And we have three major mandates. One is to promote trade between Canada and India, and not exclusively those two countries, but generally Canada and India. And the second one is to provide networking opportunities for the members, such as the one that we are at today. And the third one is clearly to try to promote the talent, to showcase the talent of our community. And that's where we've included foreign credential recognition and so on and so forth. So every June we have a gala attended by about 1,000 people. And, we had Prime Minister Harper as our chief guest last year. And basically what we do is we actually give awards to Professional of the Year, and in various categories, whether it's entrepreneurship or business or technology.
So now with the Port of Halifax, how did IBC get involved, and what is their role?
I found it very interesting personally because I also am a senior VP at Sears. And from a Sears perspective, we do more than half of our business Ontario East from a Canada point of view. So right now what happens, depending on where the merchandise is coming from, so if it's coming from India, it may actually go to Vancouver, we ship to Montreal, and then ship back to Vancouver for the Vancouver segment and or Calgary, and then a small portion kept here, or a decent portion kept here. But when you look at coming from Halifax, you knock off 3,000 kilometers or something, and more importantly, it's the time and more, and I think the expense that would be associated with traveling 3,000 kilometers.
So the ICC role is basically to help promote the exports between India and Canada.
Yeah, yes, I think if you ask me, we are at very low levels. Ontario, for example, does $1 billion of business with Canada. China would be maybe 8 or 9 times, maybe 10 times that much. If you look at Canada, it's $3 billion. And I think people will be satisfied, unfortunately, with a 20-30% increase. But if you do nothing with what's happening in India, if you do nothing, you're going to get 25-30% increase. So what I'm saying is set challenging targets. So don't be happy with $1.3 billion next year or $1.5 billion the year after. Try to go after $2.5–3 billion from an Ontario perspective, and say that this $3 billion will grow to $10 billion by 2010 for Canada. So that's some lofty goals.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah. And with India expanding, it's going to, with their recognition in the foreign markets and with all the foreign companies now opening up call centers there,
right.
It's a great opportunity.
Yes, and the call center industry is probably now peaked. So it's just so much more that's going on. The Indian, when I was there for the Pravasi Bharti Divas in January, it was really inspiring to see all of the ministers, all of the Indian ministers that spoke, focused on agriculture. And that's where they're at this point in time. So they've gone past, for example, the call center piece. It's very important for us at one point in time, and still continues to be. And the software development and so on and so forth. Now they're saying it's agriculture, it's biotech, nanotechnology, and so on and so forth. So they're already looking at, from a 11th 5-year plan perspective, what's the key focus.
Well, thank you very much for being a guest on South Asia.
Well, it was a pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm sitting back over there too, yeah. You guys have a little bit. Yeah. I had my launch party there, my company launch party.
Can't find
I didn't have that much people, but you guys are like,
Welcome to South Asian Outlook on Web TV, Mr. Rocky. Just have a couple of questions now. If you'd like to get we'd like to basically know what is Canada-Indo Business Council, and how are you related with Halifax Port?
Canada-Indo Business Council is Canada's national association which was formed in '82 to promote trade, investment, services between Canada and India. So we help Indian companies in Canada and Canadian companies in India to do business as such. The Halifax Port Authority is a member of the council, and they joined the council about 2 months ago, and they wanted our help in promoting, holding this event as a public relation so the people get to know them and they can make connections and network here. So that's why we are helping them here. They want the port to be a gateway to India as Vancouver is to China, and makes logical sense because Halifax is very close to India through Suez Canal. So I think it's a good opportunity for them to do so.
Okay. Now, so the ICC as well, the Indo-Canadian Chamber of Commerce, is also involved in this. And how are you both interlinked with one another?
They are our sister organization, but they do a lot of diasporic work which we don't. They do a lot of local events which we don't. Our mandate is strictly Canada, India business corridor. We do not involve any of the local events here. And that's how we were formed. Thomas Bata actually formed us. He's still my chairman, as honorary chair, and Roy McLaren, our former Minister of International Trade, is the chairman.
And so now, are your events held in India, or you're saying that they do between Canada and India? So do you hold any events in India, or
we do? Yeah, we do through CII and FICI, which we have long-standing MOUs with them. And we help them in India. They help us here. When they come here with their trade missions, we host them and help them here. But our events in Canada are done by us. Exactly.
Now, where do you see the Port of Halifax going in the future? Do you see?
I think Port of Halifax, first of all, is a very good port. It is a very high-quality port in all respects, and I think there's a bit of education required also to Indian companies to ship through Halifax. And also Halifax is unique because it covers North America, the eastern seaboard, so they can take advantage of the U.S. market as well as Canadian market. So that's why Halifax is unique in that sense.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can you tell us more about CIBC, like when it started and memberships?
The CIBC was formed in 1982. Most of our corporate, we do not take individuals, we only take companies. ICCC, Indo-Canadian Chamber of Commerce, takes individuals members too. You have to be in a business. We have 130 corporate members. All the top corporations of Canada, Sun Life, Scotiabank, TCS, ICICI Bank, State Bank, Bombardier, Air Canada.
So a lot of the multinational.
Yeah, they are members of the council. 30% of my membership out of 130 is the revenue is 50 million or more.
Wow.
Next 30% is revenue is 5 to 50 million, and the last is less than 5 million. The smaller companies.
So now, you mentioned Air Canada. Now, Air Canada shutting down their operations with the direct flight. Would that jeopardize your membership in any way, shape, or form?
Not really. Well, there are less airlines to choose from, obviously, and they are sponsors of the council. And I have written to the president. It came in the press quite a bit, in the radio as well.
That's right.
Unfortunate. And the reason I said this is more symbolic, because there's hardly any. They have the maple leaf on the tail. And that is a very significant marketing image, and to shut it down would be not good.
One of them, the two biggest countries in the world right now are China and India. And to shut down the operations, with India growing, it is a shame.
Well, it'll be difficult, as I mentioned, for them to get back in, because a lot of Indian airlines from India, Jet Airways and other one, Sahara, they're coming to Canada. Air India is expanding very rapidly. And India is making a lot of ports and expanding new airports. They'll find it difficult to get in because there won't be any space for them to go. We're last on the totem pole if they want to go into India.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, today we were very privileged to have 3 very important VIP guests on our show today. We would like to thank Karen Oldfield from the Port of Halifax for letting us conduct an interview, as well as the president of the ICCC, Mr. Ajit Khanna, and as well as the CIBC president, Mr. KV Rathi. Please stay tuned for another episode of South Asian Outlook on Web TV.
very quickly, I'll start